Well, hello everybody. This is our dog, Hopi. Hope. She's a little wet because she just got out of the pool. And I'm going to make a quick video for you guys today. There's my bathroom that was just renovated. I'm sure you don't care. And I already showed you, this is my bedroom. But I'm going to show you my office because I've never shown my office. This is an upstairs laundry room. And I've been renovating this office, just FYI. And look at this. That is an autograph album cover, Bohemian Rhapsody, the same album that's on. And look at these. These things are really cool. And yeah, here's my computer. And what have I been doing all Saturday afternoon? Updating social media, answering emails, so on and so forth. Okay, that's what I've been doing all day on a Saturday. And there's going to be a table that goes there. I just have to go pick it up, and I'm going to have my DJ equipment up here, and I'm going to DJ up here. It's going to be freaking fun. And but yeah, this is my office. This is where I spend like pretty much most of my time. Say hello, Hopi. This dog thinks it's a human being. So like I'll go like, come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. She loves to jump up on you. Come on. You want to jump up here? Come on. There you go. She'll come up here. Mostly on her own. This time I had to. She'll jump up. She'll want you to pet her. And she's a fun dog. And then out there you can see the pool's on. And you know what? We're in the middle of August. Get off there, Mutt. That's what I call her, Mutt. Get off there, Mutt. What are you doing? That dog is crazy. But that dog is absolutely crazy. But I'm going to come in here. And this is my pinball room upstairs. And we're going to talk about a serious topic today. Because as you get ready, look at all this amazing artwork. You like that? Does that look cool? But as you get ready for the haunt season, there's a lot of issues, a lot of dilemmas. And I'm going to come in here and sit in my love sack here in my Halloween room that I've actually added some more stuff to. I'll show you. Boo. But anyway, I added these photos up here. And I added these 3 over here. You see them? All right. And look at this. My Halloween themed spare bedroom. Okay. And now I'm sitting in the love sack. And so as you're getting ready for the haunted house season, let me tell you what the difference is between somebody who's successful and somebody who is not successful. First off, if you've opened your own business, that's a success, right? Let's own that. I mean, that's successful. Like, congratulations. But you're trying to grow this business. You're trying to get bigger. You're trying to get more attendance and stuff. You know, a lot of people are scrambling around, and all they're doing is they are working on their haunt. Okay. When in reality, what you should be working on, like what I'm doing today, updating social media, lining up digital marketing, planning an influencer night. I mean, like, I'm trying to organize billboards. This is what a successful haunt would be doing. You'd have a team working on the haunt. You'd have a team working on administrative. So whenever you think of the biggest haunts in the country, pretty much all of them will have one thing in common. They have an office team that is literally doing administrative stuff, digital marketing, social media management, updating websites, purchasing, marketing, or working on hiring actors or whatever it is. But I would say the haunts that aren't very successful is the number one priority that you have is your haunt itself. Trying to make your haunt bigger, better, you're trying to fix scenes, you're trying to do all that. You have to be able to walk and chew gum if you want to be successful. I mean, that's just the bottom line. You have to learn how to multitask. You can't just be a focus on one thing. You can't be narrow minded, like just a bullet coming out of a barrel. Okay. You've got to be able to walk and chew gum. You've got to be able to juggle, even though I don't know how to physically juggle. You got to know how to juggle a lot of different things all at the same time if you want to be successful. So if I were you, I would be putting more focus on the things that I just mentioned. That's called dotting the I's and crossing the T's. Okay. You're not going to be successful if you're not doing both at the exact same time. Okay. But with that being said, I wanted to make a video today about teen violence because this is a serious problem. And what do you do about it? When you look at Six Flags, they've incorporated, not just Six Flags, but a lot of amusement parks, they've incorporated what they call a chaperone policy, that they're not allowing certain age groups in without a chaperone, meaning an adult, because of teen violence. The Six Flags in Baltimore recently announced that this is their last year. Why do you think that is? Because that's a pretty modern Six Flags. It's right next door to Washington, D.C. So Washington, D.C. is one of the top 10 markets in the country. When you team Baltimore with it, I mean, it's a top 5. Why would Six Flags want to close a theme park in Baltimore right next door to Washington, D.C.? It's a good question, right? Washington, D.C. does not have a theme park. So Baltimore was it. So, but why are they closing it? They can tell you whatever they want, but that particular park has been ravaged by teen violence. Okay. You can literally go to YouTube right now and type in Six Flags riot. Okay. And just type in Baltimore and you'll see what I'm talking about. That Six Flags was torn apart by teenagers. Okay. And I think that Six Flags is closing, and it's just my opinion, but I think it's closing because of teen violence. They can't seem to get a control of it. It's unmanageable. And if you're not aware, Donald Trump just sent in the National Guard to Washington, D.C., and he cited specifically teen violence. Now, I know a lot of people who hate Donald Trump. They're going to say, oh, here's another example of him being, a Nazi. Let me tell you something. If you're in a crime-ridden area, are you going to be disappointed to see National Guard parked on street corners or Army soldiers here and there and everywhere, more of a presence? No, you're not going to be. If you're a criminal, you're not going to be happy about this move. But if you're not a criminal, who the hell would... I mean, you have to be an absolute freaking radical person to think that having some military, like on street corners and busy areas where people have, like, say, businesses have been getting robbed left and right, is a bad thing. Does this really hurt your ability to move around your city? No, it does not. Does it curtail your ability to go into a business? No, it does not. All it does is add more presence to the streets. You have to be absolutely a radical moron to think that having a National Guard in Los Angeles was a bad thing, or having the National Guard in Washington, D.C. is a bad thing. I would love to see the National Guard come to the city of St. Louis and help prevent teenagers from running around the streets and breaking into cars, robbing businesses. Who didn't see the videos? Okay, every time there's one of these riots, and they're protesting something, give me a break. They're not protesting anything. They're smashing up the Nike store. They're smashing up the Apple store. They're ransacking a Target, okay? And they're just taking everything out, okay? That's not protesting, okay? That's called being criminals. So who in the hell is going to complain about the National Guard being stationed here and there? It doesn't change anything. Does that scare you that National Guard are driving around your city? Like, does that frighten you? I mean, you have to be an absolute radical liberal lunatic to think that's a bad thing. I think every urban city in America should call out the National Guard and put them in the cities to try to curb violence. Who disagrees with that? I mean, seriously. There's an old saying is nobody likes the police until they need them. And that's probably true. Okay. But when you need them, you want them there immediately, right? Because you're getting mugged, you're being robbed, you're being victimized. Someone has assaulted you, shot you, of course. You want to be able to get through to 911. You want immediate assistance. And then the cops, the fire department, or maybe in this case, the National Guard is your best friend. So with that being said, I can tell you that no haunted house is going to get National Guard to show up at your haunted house to protect your haunted house. So with teen violence being so completely out of control, let me tell you one of the reasons why it is. It's because you have a lot of young mothers, okay, who maybe they're 30, 32, they have a 15-year-old, a 14-year-old, whatever. They're looking for daycare, free daycare. They're dropping them off at these amusement parks. They're dropping them off where, teens can congregate. And one of those places happens to be haunted houses. And I can tell you that I've had such a problem with teen violence, specifically at the Darkness, that we've had to change our policies. We've had to implement a policy of no teenagers. I know that hurts attendance, but I have physically witnessed teen violence, and it's scary and it's hard to control. They don't care about law enforcement. They don't care about, anything. Just, oh, hey, we're congregating. We're getting into a big group. We got a beef. We're going to fight. We might even get a gun and shoot each other. If you don't remember or recall, back in the very first year of COVID, 5 people were shot, and I know at least one died at a haunted house because of violence during COVID. That was literally unheard of, prior to COVID. But since COVID, and since a lot of these teen detention centers, they're not arresting these teenagers or releasing them to their parents. They don't feel like there's any repercussions for their actions. They're really not afraid of the police anymore. It's become a serious problem. And so what do you do about it if you're just a haunted house and you're worried about, your place becoming some sort of daycare center for bad parents who just want to drop off their kids? Well, number one, I can tell you that I have a policy. No teenagers at the Darkness. None. Okay? There's no teenagers allowed unless they have one of two things. They need to have a guardian attend with them. In other words, they need an immediate ride home after exiting the attraction. We're not a hangout spot. We don't want to be a hangout spot. We don't want anyone hanging out, lurking around. Okay? We live in between 2 apartment complexes. I mean, our space is in between 2 apartment complexes. We don't want these kids hanging out with nothing to do but cause trouble. Okay? So we say, well, we won't sell tickets to anyone. We won't accept tickets from any teenagers unless there is a guardian. In other words, a guardian has to be someone over the age of 18 who can literally escort the teenagers back home after they visit the haunted house. The other option is if teenagers are dropped off, they need to prove to us that mom or dad or somebody is waiting for them to exit the haunted house, meaning that they are waiting for them to exit so they can be picked up and removed. And then we physically make the teenagers call their parents on the phone. And I'm going to tell you something that we do. Um, when we have a bunch of teenagers and the mom's not with them or dad's not with them, and we call the mom, we say, "Hey, where are you at?" "Well, we left." "Well, come back right now. Either take them home or just come get them, because we're going to put them in the haunted house right now." So we take those teenagers, we take them up right to the front, we stick them in, even if they don't have a speed pass. We put them in and we tell mom they'll be out in 20 minutes. Come back now, or they can't go, or come back and get them and take them home. It's one or the other. Okay? So we're not going to make them wait and say, "Well, okay, yeah, maybe come back in an hour and 30 minutes," and they don't show up at all. No, we say, "Come get them now." Okay? Take them back home, or we're putting them in now. They'll be out in 20 minutes. Be here to get them. We do this with all teenagers, okay, at the darkness. This has, in large part, solved all the problems that we have with teenage violence. And it's worked. And I know that this is a problem for you, because it takes a little bit extra manpower. I realize that it takes a little extra effort. I also realize it means that your attendance could be down somewhat. But imagine having 30 teens turn into 40 to 50 to 60 to 80 teens, all with no ride. I mean, we've literally seen parents not come back and get these kids till like 1 or 2 in the morning. And I'm not making this up. They just don't come back and get them. It's ridiculous. And then they just hang out, and then it becomes a hangout spot, and then more of them come, and it's just like, and then next thing you know, there's a fight, and they're brawling, and it's a nightmare. So we just don't allow it. We don't allow it. Now, we post this on our website. We post it on the ticket page itself, that we don't allow teenagers without a immediate ride home or a chaperone. And yes, the attendance has gone down, but the haunts have been extremely safe, or safer by a long shot. We haven't had these problems of like teenagers getting in fist fights and whatnot. And whenever we don't post this, we have a serious problem. It's a serious problem. But we have teenagers come, they try to get in, we have cops, they stop them, and they say, "No, you can't come in. Are you serious?" And they call their parents immediately. Okay. The other thing that we've been doing at the haunted house is we have cops and we have wands. Now, we don't have them walk through metal detectors, because you'd have to have about 8 metal detectors to do that. So we just have wands, and they get physically wanded down. We don't want anyone going into the queue line with any type of metal. So we're wanding people for, any kind of, weapons. And the funny thing is, when people know they have a weapon and they see people wanding, they literally will ask, "Hey, can I come?" "No, you can't." You see them go back to their car and put the weapon in the car, or they just don't go, one or the other. So we don't want that. We don't want anything like that happening. And I'll tell you another thing that we do. Every Halloween, when we're getting ready to open, we call the captain of the district that the haunted house is in. We inform them that we're opening. We inform them that we would like them to understand that we will have teenagers, and we would like the police to come by, park a car. They have this thing called an eye in the sky. They'll put a dummy car there. Okay. Sometimes they come and just like leave their siren, not, their lights on spinning. So like people know, oh, hey, there's the police are here. This isn't like a good time to be robbing cars or stealing anything or causing fist fights or anything else. So anything you can do to deter that kind of activity is really going to help. Another thing that we do at the darkness specifically, and I'm talking about the darkness specifically because, that's my longest running haunt. We have a police officer that rides around in a golf cart. He rides around in the parking lot. He rides around near the sidewalks. He drives all over the place. And, and he basically is letting people know, hey, this place is being patrolled. Like, stay away. So these are all positives that we do. it seems to be working because the darkness really hasn't had any problems. And but prior to implementing all of these things, we had lots of problems, and some of them were kind of scary. And it's really only happened since COVID. And it's not just COVID, it's like other things like, stop arresting teenagers like in certain areas. It's typically blue areas, meaning Democrat run areas. This is the dumbest policy on planet Earth. If a teen commits a crime, they should go to juvenile. They should be taken away from their parents. They should be prosecuted 100%. But no, they're not doing that. And in a lot of these blue areas, they're just like not even putting them in juvenile detention or anything. They're just releasing them. And then you go out into the Republican areas, like where I live in St. Charles. If your teenager, let's say, punches a cop, he's going to juvenile detention. He's going to be prosecuted, and your parents are going to be all upset because you're not coming home. Okay, but in these liberal progressive areas, they're like, oh no, that we can't do that. Well, it's not working. It's a terrible policy. It's teaching teenagers there's no repercussions for their actions. And but that's who's doing a lot of the crime right now, is teenagers. So I think it's great that Trump has put the National Guard in Washington, D.C. to help deter teen violence. I think it's a fantastic idea. I think every state in America that has teen violence should put their National Guard to work. Put them in the cities, put them in the areas where there's a lot of violence or teen violence, and let's try to curb this. Let's try to give repercussions to teenagers so they understand that if you screw up, you're in big trouble. I mean, anybody from my generation knows, like, if you commit any kind of act of violence or robbing cars or anything, you're going to go to juvenile, and you might be there for a year. You might be there for 2 years. It's a deterrent when people think there's repercussions for bad, behavior. Well, things have changed. A lot of it had to do with George Floyd. A lot of it had to do with COVID, not, like taking kids out of school, which is the worst idea that I think anybody's ever come up with, is to take kids out of a structured environment. So it is what it is. But I can tell you that when it comes to running security at your haunted houses, you need to make sure 100% that your haunted house is safe. You definitely don't want people going in your haunted house with weapons and guns. I'm not saying they still couldn't get them in, but you need to try and do your best effort to prevent that. And you need to prevent people from attending your haunted house that would scare away the rest of the customers, because that's a big problem. If you have customers come and then they see a bunch of teenagers fist fighting, they're probably not coming back because they're going to say this place is dangerous. So you've got to do the best job you possibly can to curb violence. And I think these are some of the good steps that you can take. Maybe not every haunt has this problem, but I would argue that this could be any haunt in any area, in any location. If you're attracting a lot of teenagers, you might have a lot of problems. And so you've got to take precautions, and you've got to make sure that all of your customers are safe. Now, I want to say this too, and I'm going to say this very clearly. And let me get up for a second from my love sack. And let me say this. You know what a big security measure is? Is making sure that your customers go through in a timely fashion. If you are going to hold the customers up for a long time, meaning you're putting them in every 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, or you've got these insane long pre-shows or anything like this, you're asking for trouble, because you're saying, hey, the customers are going to be mingling a lot with customers they don't know. There could be line cutting, and that's a serious problem in these Six Flags and these theme parks, and that's one of the reasons why a lot of fights break out, because of cutting in line. And then somebody says something, and the next thing you know, there's a fight. You don't want people line cutting. And I can tell you, one of the best security measures you can put into your haunted house is line actors. entertaining the customers while they're waiting. Okay. We have noticed that we haven't had any teen violence. We haven't had any violence in general, like meaning the customers. None of the customers are getting into arguments and fights and everything because there's actors constantly interacting with them, keeping their minds occupied. Okay. Now, I would also say and argue that if you have a haunted house and your lines are astronomically long because you're putting people through way too slow because you think, and you're wrong, by the way, you're just wrong, that, oh, that haunt's terrible because they put people in too fast. Well, guess what? Nobody wants to wait in line. When I say nobody, nobody. We live in an environment today where you can literally go to your TV on demand and watch anything you want. Bam, boom, there you go. You have illegal streaming for people who don't want to pay to go to the movie theaters, or people don't want to pay for a UFC fight. They got illegal streaming for it. Okay? They want their food delivered. They want it now. We live in a society, you don't have to go to the grocery store. You don't have to go. Somebody will bring it to you. Amazon will literally bring anything you want right to your front door. You want it delivered the same day. You want it delivered the next day. They have it. This is the society that you live in. It's not the society from when you started your haunt. It's different. Things have changed. And you got to remember that. And so the worst reviews we get are waiting in line. When people wait too long, they complain. They say, well, we waited forever. So you're kind of damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't. Okay? In other words, if you put them in too fast, they'll say, you put us in too fast and ruin the experience. If you put them in too slow, they're going to say, we waited forever, and they're upset by the time they get in. Okay, and or getting back to security, they could get into line cutting, fighting, whatever. So what is the happy medium? The happy medium is you want to put the customers in as fast as you possibly can. You want to put in people, like you want to put in 8 to 12 people every 30 to 45 seconds. I know that sounds crazy, but you can't go any slower than that, okay? If you're a haunt that does 1,000 people and you're expecting to do 1,000 people, and let's say you're going to be open 5 hours, okay? Yet maybe you can put in, let's say you put in 15 people every minute, okay? And so in other words, you put in 7.5 people, every 30 seconds. The bottom line is, okay, when you open, you want to open and you want to go as fast at 6:30 or whatever it is as you would go at 9:30. You don't want the line to build up big. You don't want the line to be big at all. In fact, most people, they want to buy time ticketing and so on and so forth. Okay. And by the way, that's the problem with time ticketing. They think, oh, if I bought this time, that means that's when I go in. You're going to have to clearly explain that to people that that's not the case. That's just what time you can get in line. But all of these things are tied together for the security of your haunted house. You don't want people waiting in line. They literally get more pissed off from waiting in line than you putting them through too fast. You have to find a medium on this, okay, that works both directions. Another thing that I would say for security is you really don't want your haunt open anymore past like 11:30. So our haunt closes at 11:30. That doesn't mean that, hey, because that's a common question. If we get there at 11:15, do we go in? Yeah, if there's a line, we just stop letting people in the line after 11:30. So we want to be closed if we possibly can by midnight. We don't want to be open till 1 o'clock in the morning anymore. And any haunt out there that stays open past midnight, you're fools. You're fools. You need to speed up the line. You need to figure out how to make the line go faster, okay, so that you are not there past midnight. I think that's very, very important. So, it's a lot of ground we covered. Okay, another thing for safety I would also say is make sure you have warning signs, warning people about seizures, warning people about heart attacks and fog and asthma. Make sure you have everything covered. Now, I do want to say, and this is big news, on Fear Ticket, really cool waiver form was just instituted that makes the customers read a waiver before they buy a ticket. So that's just now getting implemented into Fear Ticket. So they would have to read the waiver, check that they read it, and it would protect you also from lawsuits. So that's very important. If you're not using Fear Ticket, make sure you do use Fear Ticket because it's by far the best ticketing system in the haunt industry. Um, so what else can I add about safety? You know, you definitely want to have good queue lines. And I will tell you that, like specifically at the Darkness, we use metal rails. We use these metal rails. I think that actually helps quite a bit. You want to keep people from being able to say like swing under a rope or something. This is much better to do it this way. So there's just lots to think of and or think about. And I also think it's very important that you have local police working your event. That doesn't mean you have to have 50 of them, okay? But on a slow night, you should have one, okay? If you're going to do a night, you know, where you're going to do 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 people, you might want to have two of them, three of them, four of them, five of them, okay? Depends, you know. And it's great if they can actually come in their police car and they can like turn the police lights on so people can see it. I think it's a deterrent. At Creepy World, we have the cops park their cars right at the entrance. So when people go in, they see the cop cars. They have to walk past the cop cars. They know cops are here. And so don't mess around because, you know, you will get arrested. I think it's very important, very important. Another thing that's very important about security is that you have a lot of radios in your haunted house. Like anyone and everyone from your ticket booth, concession stand, everywhere in between. And then you should have like section leaders in your haunted house that do nothing but roam the same section over and over again. Just checking on their actors. They have a radio. If they see something, they can call someone. That's very important. So I just wanted to do this video about teen violence, about some of the things you might want to consider doing for this Halloween, because you don't want to deal with, 30 teenagers getting into fistfights, and who knows if one of them pulls out a gun and tries to shoot the other one. You don't need that. You don't need that. There was a haunt last year. I'm not going to say the name, but they had a shooting at their haunt. It wasn't really even at their haunt. It was way up the street. But still, the media connected them to the shooting. Their business went down by 25, 30%. So do you want your business going down by 25, 30% because you don't like follow every possible regulation, follow everything that I'm saying to the letter of the law to make sure that you don't have these problems? So in Rewind, make sure you have cops, okay? Make sure you have some sort of teen policy, okay? Which is encouraging parents to bring them or pick them up immediately after. And make sure, above all, that you don't let people sit around in your queue lines too long. You got to keep these things moving. I don't even know why so many haunt owners think it's so important to stay open till 2 in the morning to have a slow pace going through their haunt. I mean, it's insane. You know, you offset that by having lots of photo ops, a lot of cool things that people can take pictures of. And, haunted houses should be experiences now. It's just not about the haunted house. When they get out of the haunted house, can they take a lot of photos? Can they take a lot of photos before they go into the haunted house? They're happy as a peach. Trust me. We put people through the haunt fairly fast. I can tell you when we put them in really slow, we get more complaints than when we put them in fast. Just saying. So with that being said, I'm going to go back to my computer and I'm going to work away. I just wanted everyone to know, okay, that there's more to running a haunted house than just putting up bloody props and stuff like this all over the walls. You have to be a smart operator. You don't do stupid things like, oh, we're going to have a shotgun with blanks. It's not going to hurt anybody. No, it will hurt somebody. You know, it killed Brandon Lee. Read about it. A lot of people have been killed by guns that were blank guns. We don't want hay rides pulled by a truck. They can't handle the weight, okay, that you need a real tractor. You know, there's just so many common sense things. We need all haunts to be safe. We don't want to see anything bad happening to any haunt. That's why I did this video. But what did I miss? should I have talked about in addition to what I did talk about? Leave a comment below and let me know what you think. Until then, happy Halloween. I hope everybody does fantastic this Halloween season. Um, and we'll see you very, very, very soon.